Hey everybody, and I do mean everybody, Ryan Doyle sitting at the Verdigris Table helping dungeon masters like you run the Sunless Citadel, aka the Sunken Citadel, aka Dragon Gate. And in this one we're talking about the Goblins. The Goblins control the other half of the fortress level as well as like the beginning entrance to the Grove level below it. Unless the player characters ignored the Kobold's advice and managed to unlock those two doors through 24, the first time they come across the Goblins will be in rooms 31, 32, and 33. Now, it is definitely possible that the players decide to negotiate or maybe deceive the Goblin faction eventually, but the adventure makes that difficult at first because these Goblins are playing defense. Thanks to the half walls in both encounters, these Goblins have cover, giving them a +2 to AC, and they're going to use Nimble Escape to bonus action hide after they fire off an arrow each round. By the time your players fight their way through this gauntlet, it seems unlikely that they'll be interested in talking to Goblins, but that's okay because they've got somebody else to talk to in room 34, Erky Timbers. I don't know why, maybe it's something about this picture of him, but Erky's voice in my head is a little early Beatles with the accent and the uptalk. This is a technique worth learning from, not the bad voice accent thing, but the friendly NPC well inside of hostile enemy territory. Even if the players kill all the kobolds and the goblins in here, I'd bet they talk to old Erky and you can drop all the knowledge and lore that you need. He also represents a real asset to the party. Not only is he an acolyte who can cast Bless and cure wounds in battle, he's also got Turn Undead, which will let them into that sanctuary if they couldn't manage it yet. If Meepo's around, now we've got two NPCs traveling with the party, and I might consider letting players control them. Not only is this potentially more fun for them, right, unlocking another character that they get to play, it takes some work off of your plate, and it is an excellent Dungeon Master training tool. You're going to have to teach your players how to take their turn behind the Dungeon Master screen if you ever want to use that character you've been dreaming up. Erky Timbers is also a great way to tie things into the next adventure or side quests. Maybe he was trying to find Kundrakar when the goblins snatched him up off the road, and now we've planted our first signpost pointing to the Forge of Fury. In my game, he actually led players to Nomengard from Dragon of Icespire Peak eventually. By the way, if you merged Oakhurst with Phandalin, then the Goblin faction down here could be connected to the Cragmaw or be their rivals. If you run this first, then the remnants could become the Cragmaw, or vice versa. A lot of DMing is like thinking up connections to the shifting facts on the ground. And it's one of my favorite parts. Like if Calcryx makes it out of this in one piece, she could easily be merged with Cryovane. And if she doesn't make it, maybe she was his daughter, right? The kobold snatched her up, maybe as an egg. And that made Cryovane angry. Connect the dots. I love this image of the trophy room with mounted cows and rat heads where this little dragon has collected all the treasure here into a tiny hoard for herself. Even though we're probably level 2 by now, a well-placed breath weapon could end this campaign here. I would have Meepo rush in delusionally thinking his lost love is going to be happy to see him, and boom, he gets frozen solid and shatters like the T-1000. Now, the players know what she can do and will take this fight seriously if they don't decide to talk this one out. I said it earlier, recurring characters are Dungeon Master Gold, and that applies double to a chromatic dragon. So don't feel too bad if you don't get to run a white dragon wormling in battle this time around. That might only mean you can throw a young white dragon at the party later. One other thing in this trophy room, this scroll case that says Kundrakar and has a snippet about Durgadin. Well, the book says even most dwarves won't be able to make much sense of it, but if you want the party heading towards the Forge of Fury first, or at least you are putting that on the table, I would definitely have the dwarf in your party know all about Kunjakar, and I put a map to the Stone Tooth in that scroll case. If you don't have a dwarf, then Erky can deliver some history if he's here. Otherwise, a map is maybe enough to set the stage for level 3 and beyond. The party might keep heading forward at this point, but alive or dead, the party could also be bringing the dragon and Meepo back to Yuzdrael, where they'll collect that key and run to the dragon door and 7 through 12, which we already covered in an earlier video. Before or after that, they might also take a long rest or two and even head back to town. And if that's the case, if it's been a day or two or even more since they came down here, killed a bunch of goblins, freed some prisoners, and or took their draconic prize, I think more guards would be in 32 and 33. That's just my style. I'm not adversarial, but I do like to drive home that this isn't a video game where monsters are just sitting around waiting in their assigned rooms until heroes come through the door and kill them, but that this is a living, breathing world reacting to the player's actions, including the original 5 in like the Goblin Gate and the practice range. There are 18 vanilla goblin warriors on this level, at least as written. Now, you can of course add and subtract as needed. The adventure does provide us with some good material for a diplomatic approach in room 41. The shaman isn't happy with the goblin leadership and is also no fan of Belak either, so the stage is set for some intrigue, some deal making, maybe backstabbing. I might have the players overhear some conversation somewhere conveying this before they bust into the final room here, right? Maybe in Goblin Town, where I hope they don't do a genocide on all of the commoners for your sake. Dexterity save against getting crushed by a stampede seems a good response if that's the way things are going down. Anyway, otherwise, odds are the players are coming into the hall of the Goblin Chief looking for a fight, and the second she casts a spell, the players are likely taking out that shaman before the chief even falls. Again, make that extra effort to offer the players different options, but stay flexible and roll with their choices. They probably won't kill all those innocents, right? I like that the treasure here tells a story as well. We find one of the signet rings that we're looking for, but also the fighter's armor being worn by this hobgoblin chief. Make connections, stack functions, marry mechanics, and the story. That's good adventure design. What I don't love about this room is that there's a well leading down to the next level. The grove is still definitely part of the Dragon Temple where it was, so I added a spiral staircase of the remnants of one going down, right? Only extending down one story because it wasn't 80 feet apart until this place sunk catastrophically into the earth. With that detail or without it, the players are heading down to the lower level and the finale of this adventure. Except it's not really the finale. We're actually just a little over halfway there. The adventure almost kind of resets here and goes back into exploration mode. So you're going to have to gauge the players and the time left on the clock in your session and decide how you want to pace things. We can also try to control expectations. First, have the goblins let the players know somewhere along the way that what's downstairs is as large or larger than at least the goblin-controlled area upstairs. Maybe I'm drawing too much from personal experience, but the players might climb down these vines anticipating that final confrontation when in fact they're walking into like a slow burn of a horror movie almost. First we get Balsag and his hounds, which are fun to say, but simply a combat, though they may be actually hunting down in the Underdark. We already prepared for that a bit in the last one, but if you used up that material already, go reaching for Appendix B in the Dungeon Master's Guide and grab a couple Underdark monsters. The Dark Mantle and the Piercer are pretty similar and a lot of fun to run. Otherwise, you can throw some like Myconoids at them and have a more social encounter. I like the way 44, 45, and 46 look on the map, but I'm not exactly riveted by the empty shrine the players will explore the heck out of and leave convinced that they've missed something. So I might take the gem from the fire snake or just another one and stick it on that tray in the dragon's mouth. Anything the players missed could go there too, right? Like a spell scroll or the map to the stone tooth. I also don't love how how the rift forms, like a secret shortcut back way to exactly where we would have gone otherwise. If you want to be brave, you can connect it to the Twilight Grove instead. I chickened out and only went halfway, having a crack provide like an obstructed view to the Gulthias Tree without being wide enough to actually reach it. Now, 47, 48, 49 are actually covering 14 rooms in this place, and this is where you can really ratchet up the creepy factor for your players, but it's also where you can edit things down. Because even without a lot going on, 14 rooms can take quite a while to get through and might kill the momentum as easily as they could build up the tension. I would consider picking out your favorite highlights and kind of fast forwarding over the rest. I love the Goblins making wine, and I think the mad scientist rat experiment is impactful and builds the story. Plus that, vial sitting there just begging for someone to drink it is in there. And I like the bugbear scything the grass as well. I'd make her and all the other goblins down here that they interact with a little like weirder and creepier than what we found upstairs. These are a bunch of Igors to Belak's Dr. Frankenstein, eating fungus and having not seen the sun for who knows how long. Now in room 50, the players might just run right by this dragon statue with glowing red eyes, and I can't blame them. What's this charisma buff for anyway? They're not going to be convincing Belak of much, right? The time for talk is over. Shadows are one of the scariest low-level monsters, by the way. They've got great flavor, and they hit you right in the ability scores. Make sure the players feel that impact. Hey, this just took your strength down by 2, and if you hit 0, that's it. Really put the fear into them. I've said that I like this module being very generous with the treasure, but I don't love that there's valuable stuff just lying around in this library room that our big bad has to have been through a million times before. Wouldn't they all be in his study with the other treasure? Oh well, your call. Also, feel free to put like a lore drop in either location as well. If you want to set the stage for something else going on in your game world, tee up that next adventure. Okay, home stretch. We've got 4 goblins, then we get 4 twig blights, and then we're on to the big dance. Don't ever expect your big bad to get a chance to finish a monologue if he's in range of your player characters. It would be great if he delivers all of this information here, but always good to have some fail safes when you're trying to get knowledge to your players. So this guy probably kept a journal, right, where he recorded all of this as well. And an insight check or Erky, Shiver Me Timbers, could figure out some of it too. This should be a very fun fight with the briars and the busted walls bringing interesting terrain, Sir Bradford swinging Shatter Spike and trying to destroy somebody's weapon while protecting Sharwin, who's tossing out color spray and sleep at the party, and don't forget the giant frog from the top rope trying to swallow somebody. It says Belak is casting Entangle, which is fine, but he's also going to get that flaming sphere out first and move it around as a bonus action. Come on. And I bet the moment when he casts Cure Wounds on the Fallen Wizard or the Paladin, your players are going to have a meltdown. Enjoy that. As you can see, you're going to have a lot of moving pieces, so get organized for this one. Definitely consider handing over any of those friendly NPCs to the players if you haven't already, and have all of your stat blocks in front of you so you're not flipping through pages. And maybe see if you can't end a session on a cliffhanger so you can start fresh with this fight, roll initiative. I know personally I'm more likely to make mistakes, forget the cool stuff that my monsters can do at the end of a long night running D&D. Plus, that's always a good way to end a session anyway and keep everybody excited for the next game night. Now, the adventure seems to assume that the players will attack the Gulthias Tree. You can call for the check to deduce that taking out the tree will have an effect on the blights and the thralls, but what I did is I had those 1d4 minus 1 twig blights per round dropping from the tree itself instead of just, running over from the rest of the room so that the tree is clearly a threat. Even so, the tree was the last thing to go down for my group. keep it dropping twig blights and they'll burn it down, I promise. If your players really want to rescue Sir Bradford and Sherwin, I probably let them, even though the book says no. You're the dungeon master, this is your world, use it to make your players feel like heroes. Also use it to shock and dismay them as the withering Gulthias Tree reveals a vampire who bows to them in thanks, transforms into a bat, and flies away, you know, if you want to. As written, the adventure invokes the complication of the twig blights already being released into the world, and you could definitely craft an adventure where this whole area transforms into like a jungle with ever more difficult plant monsters for the player characters to thwart. There's also the question of who controls the Sunless Citadel after the heroes are through with it, because it could be Kobold country now, and maybe they find a new dragon to raise. What could possibly go wrong? We've got 2 gates into the Underdark as well, and the vampire, of course, if you followed my advice, so there is plenty of adventure to be had with our newly leveled up heroes. Erky Timbers and the matron who sent us on the rescue mission in the first place are also great sources for potential plot hook delivery systems as well. You got a ton of options, but originally and in Tales from the Yawning Portal, the Sunless Citadel is followed by the Forge of Fury, which I really enjoyed running, and I'm going to help you prep for in the next of these series. So like and subscribe for that, and more videos like this. Maybe check out my DM's Guild content down below for some extra stuff to fold into these adventures. Get out there, have fun, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.